Biden.
Hello, Milwaukee. Lieutenant Governor Barnes, Congresswoman Gwen Moore, my friend Tom Barrett, the mayor, Miss Cynthia Henry. Thank you all for welcoming me to your city. And congratulations, Tom, on your reelection. And congratulations to Dave Crowley on becoming the first African-American and the youngest ever county executive. You know, I wish we could all be together in person, but I'm grateful we're able to connect virtually. First and foremost, I hope that all of you joining us today and your families are staying safe and healthy. It's an incredibly anxious moment for all our communities. You know, my prayers are with all of you who are scared, who are sick, who are grieving, and who are struggling to get by. You know, as I speak today, more than 90,000 Americans have lost their lives to this pandemic, including more than 450 Wisconsinites. A number that certainly will be higher were not for the foresight and leadership of your governor. The losses are staggering, and it's frustrating. But more than that, it's heartbreaking to think about how much pain could have been avoided if Trump had wasted less time and he'd moved quicker. We could have been deploying tests. We could have marshaled supplies to ensure that every community was ready. We could have braced the public to act quickly to slow the spread. Instead, what did we get? Denials, delays, distractions. We got bald-faced lies about our testing capacity. That quote, anybody who wants a test can get the test. It wasn't remotely true 2 months ago, and it still isn't. We got promises that, quote, one day it's like a miracle. It will disappear. He had months and months to take action and lead with urgency. But he did nothing except make false promises and dismiss the experts. Now, 90,000 Americans are gone, and the number is climbing. More than 36 million have filed for unemployment. Millions more are struggling to pay the bills. Unemployment rate is the highest it's been since the Great Depression. And this president can summon barely a word of empathy, responsibility, or regret. And there's no indication he understands the depth of pain this crisis has brought to so many Americans. It isn't just lack of words, it's just lack of action. Congress gave the Trump administration tens of billions of dollars for a Main Street lending program to help small and mid-sized businesses. It was 2 months ago. They haven't lent a single dollar, not one. Why do they fail to get this money out to the folks who desperately need it to stay afloat? Is it incompetence? Corruption? Trump was out there tweeting again this week, reopen our country. How are we supposed to do that if you're sitting on the money small businesses need just to stay alive, to turn on the lights? Stop tweeting about it. Get the money to Main Street now, Mr. President. You know, we know that Donald Trump has utterly failed this test of leadership. But it wasn't just a failure the past few months that brought us to this place. This crisis hit us harder and will last longer because he spent the last 3 years undermining the foundation of our economic strength. Farm banker season jumped 20% last year, due largely to Trump's unmitigated disaster of a tariff war. Wisconsin farmers have been hit the hardest. Agriculture exports are down, and manufacturing is in recession as well. Trump inflicted incredible pain on our farmers, and for what? He was so desperate for a deal that he could claim as his big win with China. And instead of prioritizing help for working people, he used to negotiating leverage to provide access, get additional access for big banks to do business in China. How does that help the American worker? He didn't address China's unfair trade practices. And as for all those big purchases of U.S. goods Trump promised, China's already behind schedule, and we're never likely to meet the targets in the first place. And now with COVID-19, it's even less realistic. Trump's economic agenda has three unmistakable failings. First, the only measurement he cares about is the stock market. It doesn't matter if ordinary Americans are struggling. The stock market is the single lens through which he sees the economy. That's why his irresponsibly downplayed and delayed action on the virus. Why? To protect the Dow Jones. That one reckless choice is directly responsible, in my view, for the loss of tens of thousands of American lives and millions of jobs. Second, his entire economic strategy is focused on helping the wealthy and big corporations. Stop for a second and just think what we could be doing now with the $2 trillion in unnecessary tax cut he delivered to his rich friends as his first priority. Imagine how much better off we'd be right now if corporations were using that money to keep workers on the payroll instead of buying back their own stock. Imagine if instead of handing over the keys to the store to help Scott Walker bring Foxconn to town, trading away billions in exchange for 13,000 jobs that never materialized. Imagine if we'd invested that in small businesses like CityNet Jazz Cafe that actually served the Milwaukee community. Thirdly, Donald Trump claimed he would fight for the forgotten man, the working class. But as soon as he got in office, he forgot them. Once upon a time, he promised to work with Congress to pass a bill, quote, limiting offshoring of jobs. He promised to create $1 trillion worth of new infrastructure jobs. And he promised to expand child care. He said it would all happen before May of 2017. Well, it's now May of 2020. Not one of these promises has materialized. Instead, he's run the same playbook that has degraded our economy time and again over the past 4 decades. If you need proof that Trump's policies were a failure, even before this virus hit, just compare the first 35 months of the Trump presidency to the last 35 months of the Obama-Biden administration. Hiring was slower under Trump. Real wages grew more slowly as well. Why would anybody trust this man to bring back our economy now? He thinks he's a builder, but he's a destroyer of everything he touches. All he has ever done is hollow out what really matters and then slap a gold sign on a flimsy foundation. You know, we're seeing it again in the way he's implementing the relief effort. No oversight, no IGs, no accountability. Relief money is going to Trump's donors and political allies. His Treasury Department allowed corporations with connections to cut to the front of the line. Meanwhile, the mom and pop shops got shut out. More than 40% of the initial funding designated to support small businesses never made it to them. It's not just a matter of incompetence or laziness. He wants a corrupt recovery. The single largest recipient of small business money was a hotel executive, a major Trump donor. The administration let him exploit a loophole to get $59 million in aid. He's only giving it back now because the press found out. You know, we're reading reports that the Trump administration is allowing big corporations to take the money to lay off their workers. How hard is it for Trump to say that if you're going to receive taxpayer money, you have to take care of your workers first? You know, it's time to say enough is enough. Wisconsin has the power to pick a different path. Here's what I do. I start by rebuilding the backbone of this country. A stronger, more inclusive, more resilient middle class. And this time bring everybody along. A middle class that can withstand a crisis that comes our way, any crisis. Since the very beginning of my campaign, I've had a simple message. Wall Street did not build this country. The middle class built this country. Ordinary men and women are capable of doing extraordinary things when given half a chance. That's who I believe in. That's who I'm fighting for. The workers who are carrying this nation on their backs. The doctors, the nurses, other healthcare workers, EMTs, and firefighters and police, grocery store clerks, meat packers, and the farm workers. the delivery drivers, the mass transit workers, heroes who all too often are the lowest paid and the least appreciated members of our society. You know, this crisis is showing us what's essential. I think it's time we reward the people who actually make this country work. I believe, and I really do, out of this crisis, we'll have one of the most breathtaking opportunities in the history of our nation. Not just to rebuild an economy, but to transform it. Make sure everyone has paid sick leave and child care support. Putting millions of people to work building a new green economy. Guaranteeing education that equips our children to succeed, and access to high-quality, affordable health care for every single American. Now, we can create an economy that works for all of us. And the way we'll do that is by empowering our workers, encouraging unionization and collective bargaining, ensuring fair play, overtime, compensation, worker safety, and a secure retirement. We can insist that big corporations step up for their workers and the communities in which they reside. We can rip out the race-based inequities that infect every part of our society, from the pollution being pumped into the air and water in communities of color to the disparities in health care they receive. Here's what it comes down to. We can choose who our economy, our government, and our country works for. That's the choice we have to make this November. And that choice could not be more stark. Before I turn this over to my friend and your outstanding Senator Tammy Baldwin, I'd like to end by saying thank you to all those frontline workers working day in and day out, risking their lives to keep this nation afloat. And to everyone struggling right now, I'm with you. I'll be fighting with you and for you every single day. We're going to get through this together. I have no doubt about it whatsoever. But the reason we're going to get through it is because I know the American spirit, the American character. We're seeing it on display every day. That's what has seen us through every crisis in our past. It's going to see us through again today. It will empower us to write the future we want for our country and for our children. So, Wisconsin, keep the faith. Thank you. God bless you, and may God protect our troops.